Two brothers, one dream before the logos, before the stadiums, before the billions of dollars, before the rivalry that would divide an entire town. There were simply two brothers, two boys born beneath the same roof, two dreamers staring at the same horizon. Their names were Adolf Dassler and Rudolf Dassler. The world would one day know them as the founders of Adidas and Puma, but history did not know them yet. To history, they were simply Adi and Rudi. They grew up in Herzogenaurach, a small town in Germany where dreams rarely traveled far. The streets were quiet, the opportunities were few, and greatness was something that happened somewhere else. Yet history has a strange habit. It often hides extraordinary people in ordinary places. As children, the brothers shared everything: the same home, the same struggles, the same uncertain future, but they did not share the same soul. Adi was quiet. He spoke less than he thought, and he thought about everything. He studied objects the way poets study words. A shoe was never just a shoe. It was a question, a possibility, a challenge waiting to be solved. Rudi was different. He possessed a fire that could fill a room. He laughed louder, dreamed bigger, believed harder. Where Adi saw craftsmanship, Rudi saw conquest. Where one brother wished to build perfection, the other wished to build an empire. Separately, they were talented. Together, they were dangerous. The world around them was changing. Germany carried the wounds of hardship. Families struggled, opportunities disappeared, and for many young men, survival itself became an ambition. But sometimes, the people who change history are born in moments when hope feels impossible, because desperation creates a question, and dreamers spend their lives searching for an answer. For Adi, that answer arrived in the form of a shoe. Not an ordinary shoe, not a beautiful shoe, but a better shoe. He became obsessed with speed, obsessed with movement, obsessed with the impossible idea that perhaps an athlete could run faster if someone cared enough to build something extraordinary beneath their feet. So inside a small laundry room attached to their family home, Adi began to create, by hand, one stitch, one cut, one experiment at a time. While the world slept, he worked. While others doubted, he believed. And eventually, Rudi joined him. It was the beginning of something neither brother could yet understand. Adi built, Rudi sold. Adi dreamed, Rudi persuaded. One brother created the vision, the other convinced the world to believe in it. Together, they founded the Dassler Brothers Shoe Factory. At first, nobody noticed, because greatness rarely arrives with applause. It arrives quietly, disguised as hard work, disguised as sacrifice, disguised as two brothers chasing a dream nobody else can see. Slowly, athletes began wearing their shoes. Then more athletes, then champions. Each victory became proof that the impossible could be built by human hands. And, for the first time, the brothers allowed themselves to believe. Perhaps they were building more than a company. Perhaps they were building a legacy, a future, an empire. But empires are strange things. They do not always collapse because of enemies standing outside the walls. Sometimes, they collapse because of enemies growing inside them. At first, the signs were invisible. A disagreement here, a misunderstanding there, a moment of pride, a moment of resentment, tiny fractures. The kind families ignore because they believe love will always repair what life breaks. But history tells a different story. Small cracks become deep wounds, and deep wounds become wars. Neither brother understood this, not yet. As they celebrated their success, as they dreamed about the future, as they stood side by side, believing nothing could ever separate them, fate had already begun writing a different ending, because long before there was Adidas, long before there was Puma, there was only one dream, one family, one empire, and two brothers who believed they would conquer the world together. They were wrong. And what happened next would become one of the greatest stories of ambition, betrayal, and rivalry the world has ever known. Building the Dassler Empire. When dreams learn to run, every empire has a moment before the world notices it. A moment when success still feels impossible. A moment when belief is the only currency that matters. For Adolf and Rudolf Dassler, that moment had arrived. Inside a small workshop in Herzogenaurach, Germany, two brothers continued chasing a dream nobody else could see. They had no investors, no global reputation, no guarantee that tomorrow would be better than yesterday. What they did have was each other, and sometimes that is enough. Every morning began the same way. Adi disappeared into his world of leather, thread, and possibility. While others saw shoes, he saw questions. How could an athlete run faster, jump higher, compete harder? How much greatness remained hidden beneath a person's feet? He obsessed over every detail, every stitch, every measurement, every mistake. Because Adi believed something extraordinary. That perfection was not discovered, it was built. Rudy, meanwhile, entered a different battlefield, the battlefield of belief. He traveled from town to town, from stadium to stadium, from athlete to athlete. He carried more than shoes. He carried a story, a promise, a dream. He convinced people to believe in something that did not yet exist. And somehow, they did. The brothers were different, but together they created something rare, a partnership where vision met ambition, where invention met persuasion, where dreams found momentum. Slowly, the impossible began to happen. Athletes started winning, records started falling, and every victory carried the same hidden message. The Dassler brothers were building something special. Their shoes traveled farther than they ever had. Their reputation spread beyond their hometown, then beyond their region, then beyond Germany itself. For the first time, the world began to notice. But success is a dangerous thing, because success whispers a lie. It tells us that tomorrow will always belong to us. The brothers didn't hear the warning. How could they? They were living inside a miracle. Their factory grew, their workforce expanded, orders multiplied, and every day seemed to prove that their greatest dreams were finally becoming reality. Then came the moment that changed everything. The 1936 Olympic Games, Berlin. The eyes of the world gathered in one place. Nations competed. Athletes dreamed. History waited. And among those athletes stood a man who would unknowingly transform the future of the Dassler brothers. His name was Jesse Owens, a young American sprinter, a man carrying more than ambition. He carried the hopes of millions. While the world watched, Owens stepped onto the track wearing Dassler shoes. Then he ran. He ran faster than anyone believed possible. He won. Then he won again. And again. And again. 4 gold medals. 1 unforgettable performance. And with every step he took, the Dassler brothers' dream became larger than they had ever imagined. Suddenly, their shoes were no longer local. They were legendary. The impossible had happened. 2 brothers from a small German town had built footwear worn by the fastest man in the world. Success arrived, fame arrived, recognition arrived, and for a brief moment, everything felt perfect. But history has a cruel sense of timing, because while the brothers celebrated their greatest triumph, something else was approaching, something far larger than business, far larger than ambition. A storm was gathering over Europe, a storm that would test not only their company, but their family. Because empires can survive competition, they can survive failure, they can survive hardship, but some things, even empires cannot survive. And the storm that was coming would change Adolf and Rudolf Dassler forever. There are moments in history when the world changes so completely that nothing afterward can ever be the same. For Adolf and Rudolf Dassler, that moment arrived in the late 1930s. Until then, their lives had been defined by one thing: hope. Hope had built their factory. Hope had built their reputation. Hope had built their dream. But hope is fragile, and history has never been kind to fragile things. As dark clouds gathered over Europe, the brothers continued working, continued believing, continued pretending that the storm outside their windows would somehow pass them by. But storms do not ask permission. They arrive, and they take everything with them. The Germany that had once celebrated their success was changing. Fear replaced optimism, suspicion replaced trust, and everywhere people looked, the future appeared uncertain. Soon, the world found itself at war. And suddenly, the dreams of 2 brothers no longer mattered. Factories changed, lives changed, families changed. The rules that had governed ordinary life disappeared. And with them, So did certainty. For Adolf and Rudolf, the war brought something even more dangerous than hardship. It brought doubt, the kind of doubt that grows silently, the kind that hides beneath conversations, the kind that slowly transforms love into suspicion. At first, the disagreements were small, a misunderstanding, a disagreement over responsibility, a question left unanswered, the sort of conflict families believe they can overcome. But war changes people. It changes the way they think, the way they trust, the way they remember. Soon, the brothers no longer saw each other the same way. Where there had once been loyalty, there was now uncertainty. Where there had once been admiration, there was now resentment. And where there had once been brotherhood, there was now silence. The silence grew, day after day, month after month, until eventually, the silence spoke louder than words ever could. No one knows exactly when the breaking point arrived. History records facts, but families carry emotions, and emotions rarely leave behind evidence. Some believed it was betrayal. Others believed it was misunderstanding. Perhaps it was both. Or perhaps it was simply the tragedy of two men who no longer recognized the people they once loved. As war consumed Europe, the Dassler brothers found themselves fighting a battle of their own, not against soldiers, not against nations, but against each other. The dream they had built together began to crack, and every new crack made the next one easier. Years earlier, they had stood side by side, believing they would conquer the world together. Now, they struggled to stand in the same room. The factory still existed, the business still survived, but something far more important had already been lost: trust. And once trust disappears, some things can never be rebuilt. The war eventually came to an end, but not every war ends when the fighting stops. Some wars continue inside the human heart. For Adolf and Rudolf Dassler, their greatest battle was only beginning, because when the world finally found peace, the brothers would discover something terrifying. They no longer wanted peace with each other, and the decision they were about to make would divide not only their family, not only their company, but an entire town. And from the ashes of that broken dream, two empires would rise. There are some wars that leave behind no battlefields, no monuments, no heroes, only silence. For Adolf and Rudolf Dassler, that war began long before either brother understood what was happening. The world had survived World War II. Cities rebuilt themselves. Nations searched for peace. But some things, once broken, can never truly be repaired. The two brothers who had once shared everything, a home, a dream, a future, now shared only one thing: resentment. No one knows exactly when forgiveness became impossible. Perhaps it happened during the war. Perhaps it had been growing for years, hidden beneath success, hidden beneath ambition, hidden beneath brotherhood itself. What history remembers is simple. The brothers no longer trusted each other, and once trust disappears, everything else soon follows. The factory still stood, the machines still worked, the orders still arrived, but the soul of their empire had already died. Conversations became arguments. Arguments became accusations. Accusations became silence. And silence became permanent. The workers noticed. The family noticed. The entire town noticed. Everyone could feel that something extraordinary was coming to an end. Then came the decision that would change business history forever. The Dassler brothers' shoe factory would be divided, not because of money, not because of competition, but because two brothers could no longer imagine standing beside one another. One company became two, one family became two, one dream became two. The town of Herzogenaurach itself was forced to choose sides. Friends stopped speaking. Neighbors became rivals. Families became divided. This was no longer a business disagreement. It had become a war of the heart. Adolf walked away carrying his vision. Rudolf walked away carrying his anger. And perhaps both men believed they had won. But some victories demand a terrible price. For the first time since childhood, brothers separated by pride, separated by pain, separated by the dream they once built together. Neither brother was thinking about history. They were thinking about something far more painful. The realization that sometimes the person who helps build your dream can also become the person who destroys it. There are some rivalries that create greatness, And there are some rivalries that consume everything they touch. For Adolf and Rudolf Dassler, their rivalry became both. Years passed, then decades. The two brothers who had once shared a dream now shared only one purpose: to defeat each other. Adidas grew, Puma grew, factories expanded, athletes signed contracts, championships were won. And yet, beneath every victory, there remained an invisible wound. The town of Herzogenaurach had become unlike any other place on earth. People didn't simply ask where you worked, they asked whose side you were on. Adidas or Puma. Children inherited loyalties, families inherited grudges. Even friendships were measured by the shoes on a person's feet. The brothers no longer spoke. They no longer met. They no longer existed in each other's lives. Yet, ironically, they thought about each other every single day. Every athlete signed by Adidas was a defeat for Puma. Every victory by Puma was an insult to Adidas. Success no longer brought satisfaction. It only created the desire for another victory, and another, and another. Because rivalry is a strange thing. At first, it pushes us to become better. Eventually, it becomes the reason we exist. Adolf continued building, obsessed with innovation, obsessed with perfection, obsessed with proving that his vision had always been right. Meanwhile, Rudolf fought with equal determination. He built Puma not merely as a company, but as an argument that he had been the brother who truly deserved success. And perhaps that was the greatest tragedy of all, because neither man was building for joy anymore. They were building for validation. The world watched in amazement. Athletes broke records, teams won championships, global empires emerged, and through competition, both companies reached heights that would have been impossible alone. Yet behind every triumph stood two men who had lost something far greater than business: each other. As the years passed, age began to replace anger. But age does not always bring peace. Sometimes it only brings perspective, and perspective can be painful. The brothers had spent their lives building empires, but no amount of success could restore a broken family. No championship could erase regret. No victory could recover lost time. They had conquered the world, but they had failed to conquer themselves. And perhaps that is the lesson hidden behind every great empire. That success has a price, and sometimes the price is paid long before we understand its value. The brothers would never reconcile. They would never share another conversation. They would never stand side by side again. Yet, even in silence, they continued shaping history. Together, apart, forever connected by the rivalry that destroyed them. Because sometimes, the people we spend our lives trying to defeat are the very people who gave our lives meaning. There is a strange truth about history. The world remembers victories, it remembers championships, it remembers billion-dollar empires, but history rarely remembers the price. For Adolf and Rudolf Dassler, the price of greatness was not money, it was not time, it was not failure, it was each other. Years turned into decades. The brothers grew older, their companies grew larger. Adidas became a global force, Puma became a worldwide brand. The dream they had once built together had become something neither of them could have imagined. Stadiums filled with athletes wearing their creations. Champions lifted trophies in their shoes. Millions of people carried their legacy with every step they took. And yet, for all their success, one thing remained unchanged: the silence. The brothers never reconciled. They never sat down together. They never rebuilt what had been broken. The years continued to pass, and eventually, the world that had once belonged to two ambitious young brothers became a world ruled by memories. Adolf Dassler died in 1978. Rudolf Dassler had died years earlier. They left behind factories, fortunes, brands that would outlive generations, but they also left behind a question: what is the true cost of an empire? Because perhaps the greatest tragedy of their story is not that they became rivals. It is that they forgot they had once been brothers. The same hands that built a dream together spent a lifetime trying to destroy one another. The same ambition that created greatness created loneliness. The same rivalry that built two empires destroyed one family. And perhaps that is why their story continues to fascinate us. Because beneath the business headlines, beneath the logos, beneath the billions of dollars, their story was never truly about shoes. It was about love, pride, ambition, and the painful reality that success cannot repair every wound. Today, Adidas and Puma remain two of the most recognizable brands on Earth. Their products travel across continents. Their logos appear in stadiums, cities, and homes around the world. Their rivalry became immortal, but somewhere beneath that success, there remains the shadow of two brothers walking side by side through a small German town. Two boys who shared the same dream. Two boys who believed nothing could ever separate them. They were wrong. And yet, perhaps they were also right, because although they spent their lives apart, history will forever remember them together. Adolf Dassler, Rudolf Dassler, two brothers, one dream, two empires, and a legacy that changed the world forever. If this story moved you, subscribe to Behind the Empire, because behind every great empire lies a story of ambition, sacrifice, and the price of greatness. And in our next episode, we'll uncover another empire whose rise changed the world forever, a story of innovation, obsession, and a man who refused to accept the impossible. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.